কিছু করার নাই।
ম্যাম আজকে কি সেকেন্ড টিম দিতে পারবে তাহলে?
সেকেন্ড টিম কি রেডি আছে?
না ম্যাম, নট ইভেন ইন দ্য স্লাইটেস্ট।
নট ইভেন ইন দ্য স্লাইটেস্ট কেন? আপনাদের না আজকে প্রেজেন্ট করার কথা ছিল, আসলে টাইম নাই দেখে আমি সেকেন্ড টিম দিতে বলতেছি।
ম্যাম আমরা এগেইনস্ট এর টিম, আমরা ম্যাম ভাবছিলাম নেক্সট টিউসডে।
মানে আপনারা কি ভাবছিলেন?
নেক্সট টিউসডে ম্যাম, আমরা তিনজন ভাবছিলাম নেক্সট টিউসডেতে।
আচ্ছা, ডানা টিম স্টার্ট করেন। যে পারতেছেন না ওরটা হচ্ছে অন্য কেউ কাউন্টার দিবেন, বুঝছেন? মানে আপনাদের যারা পরে আছেন, যে দুইজন আছেন, ওরা একজন হচ্ছে আবার পরে কাউন্টার দিবেন।
আচ্ছা ম্যাম, বাকি আরেকজনকে আসছে। না Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Today we are gonna me with my teammates Sadman gonna debate about the topic in the favor of the in the favor of
লিখে দিচ্ছি। কন্টিনিউ করেন না।
the topic given is can silence be fraudulent, and we're gonna talk about in favor of this statement, and for we are going to talk about the in favor of the statement. Since our childhood, we know that our society helps us to grow. Our society made us who we are now. So, in these years of being taken care of us, leads us to bind it. Some of responsibilities, and these responsibilities towards the society comes up with to speak against the wrong and not to stay silent, because we believe that silence is fraudulent. And today we are gonna talk about 5 reasons that why silence can be fraudulent. These are the duty of disclosure, incomplete information, manipulation, cover up, and the moral and ethical obligations. The first, let's define what we mean by silence. So in this concept, I believe that silence refers to the act of not disclosing the fact when silence refers to the act of not disclosing information about some things when there's the opposition party has a significant impact on that statement, and the information is lacking behind. So the first point of the given statement was duty of disclosure. So Article 19 of Universal Declaration of Human Rights stated that everyone has a right of freedom of expression, and this includes the responsibility to seek information, responsibility to receive, and information to impart logical definitions. So if one party doesn't give the information that are lacking behind, that means they are violating the freedom of expression. And if I give an example of that, such as if I buy a car from a car dealer and I tell
second,
him,
sorry to interrupt. Those Turjo, তোর মাইকটা একটু অফ কর না, অনেক ব্যাকগ্রাউন্ড নয়েজ আসছে।
Okay, so if I buy a car from a car dealer and I say that I need a brand new car with a not reconditioned engine, but the car dealer sold me a car that is reconditioned and the engine is not that well. So in this case, my choice was not my choice was violated, and I didn't get the thing I wanted from the first time. And this is why this is called this will be fraud. And here the silence is causing the causing me some kind of, what will I say, here's the silence is causing me a problem. So this is why here the silence is fraud. It proves that the silence is fraudulent. And the next 4 points will be covered up by my teammates. Thank you.
Can I start?
নো এগেনস্ট টিমের ফার্স্ট স্পিকার বলবেন এখন। এটা তো ডিবেট প্রেজেন্টেশন না। এগেনস্ট টিমের ফার্স্ট স্পিকার কে ছিলেন?
Miss Ami.
স্টার্ট করুন।
Hello everyone. So I'm Samantha Tarnum, and today with my teammates I'm going to explain that silence cannot be fraudulent. As my opponent speaker said that silence is remaining silent is not an ethical behavior, but I'd like to say that silence is a natural behavior that is not governed by any moral or ethical standards. Moreover, silence can also mean respecting someone's privacy, which is definitely an ethical behavior. And silence is not an deliberate action that can be categorized as fraudulent or dishonest. It is simply the absence of sound or speech. Suppose if someone remains silent during an interrogation or questioning, it cannot be considered fraudulent as they're not actively making any false statements. And making fraud statements is definitely a very essential part of fraudulent. In a court of law, the right to remain silent is always protected, and the decision to do so cannot be interpreted as an admission of guilt or an attempt to deceive. Also, silence does not provide any information that can be considered misleading or deceptive. It is not a conscious act of deception that is intended to gain unfair advantage of or benefit. In fraudulent, we can see that there is always there is always an intention to gain something from the opposite party. Again, as speaking of morality, silence can be an expression of grief, pain, or sorrow, which are very authentic emotions that cannot be classified as fraudulent. For example, if someone remains silent in a moment of mourning or reverence, it cannot be considered fraudulent. Again, silence can be the most important part is silence can be a powerful tool for resolving conflicts. It allows both parties to reflect and express their thoughts and feelings in a safe and respectful manner. So this is from me, and the opposite party can continue with the next member. Thank you so much.
পরের সেকেন্ড স্পিকার বলবেন।
আসসালামু আলাইকুম ম্যাম, আই এম ভেরি সরি, আমি একটু টেকনিক্যাল কারণের জন্য ক্যামেরা অন করতে পারছি না।
প্রবলেম নাই, বলেন।
ম্যাম, আমাকে কি শোনা যাচ্ছে?
হ্যাঁ, শোনা যাচ্ছে, ইউ আর অডিবল।
আচ্ছা, so thank you Samantha for your valuable points. So I'd like to beg differ to the points of Samantha because she said that silence doesn't deceive anyone. I think that silence is deceiving in some points, where if we say about something like incomplete information, when important information is not disclosed, others are forced to make decision based on incomplete information which can result in negative consequences. In this sense, silence can be just as damaging as a deliberate lie. For example, I'm in a shop, I'm in a cake shop, and I'm gonna buy a cake for myself, where the baker told me that they have this kind of ingredients in this, so I'm allergic to nuts, and the baker told me that baker did not mention the fact that the cake has nuts. So it can be very alarming to me that this can even take my life also. So in this case, I'm saying that if he didn't if he was not silent at all, if he mentioned the fact that the cake has the ingredient nuts in it, then I could avoid this and my life would be safe. That's it, ma'am.
থ্যাংক ইউ। তারপরে হচ্ছে এগেইনস্ট এ সেকেন্ড স্পিকার বলবেন।
Thank you, Dana, Samantha, and Oishi for presenting their logic on the for and against of the topic. Is can silence be fraudulent or not? For obvious reason, I am standing against the logic, so I shall prove why silence is not a fraud, or silence cannot mean to be fraud. First of all, this rules comes under the Act 1872, section 17, according to Indian penal code law, and there is a quote: "Let the buyer be aware." I shall revert Oishi's logic that she went to buy a cake from a bakery. She was not said about the ingredients of the cake, so she could be allergic to that specific ingredient. But Oishi didn't also told the bakery that she has allergy of the ingredient. So here she is the one who is silent. The bakery needs to know why that cake can be harmful to her. The bakerman cannot just disclose the ingredients of his items to every customer. He could write it on the packaging that the cake has this kind of elements, but he cannot tell to every other customers that this cake has this type of ingredient that can be harmful to you, because he doesn't know about the allergic reaction of every customer, those who comes to them. And the first speaker of the fourth team, Dana, said that the first point was duty of disclosure. She talked about freedom of impression, and she gave example of a car, new car or reconditioned car. So when a car seller is selling you a car which is reconditioned, but you wanted a new car, he is directly doing a fraud towards you. He is not silent about it. He's giving you the car, and you are the one who has to determine if the car is new or the recondition. He is not silence in this point. He is doing a fraud. So silence and fraud are different things. We are talking about if he was silent, then it's a fraud or not. So the buyer has to be beware of what he is buying. And other points they're talking about some specific reasons where the both of the parties should know about the contract. That's a fiduciary relationship where utmost of good faith plays a vital role while doing a contract. For example, insurance. When we are doing an insurance, in that case, because we are disclosing the health hazards or the health issues of a patient to a life insurance company. If he doesn't, or if she or he doesn't disclose his or her health condition to the insurance company, so then the insurance company cannot operate properly while doing his or her insurance. So this can be a fraud then. But they didn't talk about the fiduciary relationship, and more likely there is no law which implies on that we have to disclose our facts to the other party. In some cases we need to disclose. That's the fiduciary relationship part. Now I would and I now right now I would give give an example of why silence is not a fraud. We all are aware of credit card marketing. The credit card marketers calls us and tell us about the different facilities the card can provide us. They don't tell us the bad effects of a credit card, how the interest rates work, how the payment is done, how it can be very harmful towards us, and how we can be in a debt cycle if we use the credit card without knowing or without understanding the proper use. But we cannot file a case against them for the fraud because we are not asking them that if the card is okay, what's the interest rate of the card. They're saying that the interest rate is 4%, but they are not telling us that the 4% is not an annual interest rate, it's a month interest rate. So the yearly interest rate would become about 36 to 40% if you use the credit card without knowing the interest rate cycle or the payment cycle. So we cannot sue the credit companies that you have done a fraud to us. You haven't told us the interest rates details. You haven't told us the terms and conditions. You haven't told us the rules of payment because they are telling us to take the card and we haven't asked them about it. So they are not bound to say what are the features of the card. So we cannot sue them. There are terms and conditions. We the customers need to know about the terms and conditions. And I would like to say that silence is not a fraud till the silence is itself a statement. So from my side, I have reverted the points of Dana and Oishi, and I have given example why silence cannot be a fraud. So I shall rest my presentation right here. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Very good presentation. Acha, for third speaker, 100 ID.
Thank you, Imran. So, ma'am, mainly fraud is responsible for causing the billions of from the society. Suppose, ma'am, he is calling about the fiduciary relation. ম্যাম ধরেন ম্যাম যে একজন বাবা তার সম্পত্তি 2 ভাগ করে দিল ছেলের চোখে। তো সে তার বড় ছেলেকে বেশি ভালোবাসে। তো এই ক্ষেত্রে সে তার বড় ছেলেকে বেশি পরিমাণ সম্পত্তি দিল। কিন্তু এই ক্ষেত্রে তার সততার নিয়মে তো তার 2 ছেলেকে সমান ভাগ করে দেওয়ার কথা। তো সেই ক্ষেত্রে তো সে সাইলেন্স থাকার কারণে সে একজন অর্ধেক পাইলো আরেকজন অর্ধেক মানে কম পাইলো। তো এই ক্ষেত্রে সাইলেন্সটা ফ্রড হয়ে গেল না ম্যাম? আর ইন্স্যুরেন্সের ক্ষেত্রে আমি বলতে আসি, অনেক ক্ষেত্রে ব্যাংকের ক্ষেত্রে আসে যে ব্যাংকে অনেক স্কিম দেখায় যে মিউচুয়াল ট্রাস্ট ব্যাংকের ক্ষেত্রে যে তারা বলে যে আপনারা আমার এই স্কিমে টাকা লাগান, আপনাদের টাকা ডাবল হয়ে যাবে। এক্ষেত্রে দেখা যাচ্ছে যে মালিকরা শেয়ার মার্কেটে বিভিন্ন লস কোম্পানি যেগুলোতে চলে তাদের নামে শর্ট কোম্পানিগুলোতে টাকাগুলো ঢাইলা লস দেখায়, তারপরে জনসাধারণের যে টাকাগুলো থাকে ওই টাকাগুলো মার খেয়ে যায়। কিন্তু এই ক্ষেত্রে যদি একজন এমপ্লয়ি ভিতরের এমপ্লয়ি একমাত্র এই সাধারণ কথাগুলো জানে, এক্ষেত্রে তাকে চুপ করে দেওয়া হয় যে আপনাকে প্রতি বছর 10% করে ইনক্রিমেন্ট দেখানো হবে। সেই ক্ষেত্রে যদি সততাটা দেখাইতো তাহলে জনগণের টাকাটা মার যেত না। এমন আরো বিভিন্ন স্ক্যাম দেখা গেছে বিভিন্ন দেশের পর্যায়ের ক্ষেত্রে। এই যে যেমন ম্যাম বলতে গেলে আমেরিকার ইউএস হিস্টোরিতে লার্জেস্ট ইয়েতে হয়েছিল যে ম্যাম বার্নি ম্যাডফ পঞ্জি স্কিম, পরে অ্যার্নল্ড স্ক্যান্ডল স্কিম, এটা 2000 সালে হয়েছিল। এমন আরো বিভিন্ন স্কিম ছিল।
Okay. Thank you. Are you done?
Ma'am, no ma'am.
Okay, continue.
So ma'am, in the conclusion, I can say that silence can be just as damaging as the daily life, but it is essential that individuals have the moral and ethical obligation to speak up and disclose important information. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Okay. Acha, you can say last speaker.
Assalamu alaikum, ma'am. I'm Faisal Ahmed. So I would like to respectfully say that my opposite team had no logic when you are saying his art. So I have some case laws regarding this thing. Firstly, Ward versus Hobbs 1878, which shows that seller is not bound to disclose every little defect of his product because the buyer should be the person who should be aware of all the things he want to know. But there is a simple thing, there is clear defect and latent defect. If the defect is very clear, then the buyer should be the person knowing it. But if the defect is latent, then he can say that the seller has defect him. Like if I am buying a bag and the zip is not okay, then the responsibility of the buyer is to check out the bag. And the another case is mobile phones battery. If the battery is not good, then it will be the seller's responsibility to check out the battery, whether is it okay or not. And the another thing is Wallis versus Russell 1902 case law, which shows that as buyer should rely on own skill and judgment, not the sellers. So yeah, the buyer cannot then blame the seller for any kind of misjudgment or defect in a product, because it was his responsibility to check out it. And then lastly, Hansen Simpson 1928 case law, which shows that Hanson was a driver and Simpson was a car owner, and he didn't with check out the facts whether Hands could drive or not. He just hired him as his driver, and later on he find out that Hans didn't know how to drive properly. So Simpson can't blame Hans for not telling him the facts, because it was his responsibility to check out all the facts and be aware of it. That's all for my side. Thank you, ma'am.
ওকে, থ্যাংক ইউ। আচ্ছা, ঠিক আছে। আপনাদের ফার্স্ট টিমের প্রেজেন্টেশনের মধ্যে আনফরচুনেটলি উইনার হয়েছে এগেইনস্ট টিম। ফরওয়ার্ড টিমের থেকে এগেইনস্ট টিমের পারফরম্যান্স অনেক ভালো ছিল। আর হচ্ছে ওরা অনেক কিছু মানে ইনকর্পোরেট করছে ওদের প্রেজেন্টেশনে। সো নেক্সট ক্লাসে আরেকটা টিমের প্রেজেন্টেশন শুনে দেন হচ্ছে আমি ইয়ে করবো। আচ্ছা না, আজকে এই কোয়েশ্চেন না করি, নেক্সট দিন একটা কোয়েশ্চেন করবো, তখন হচ্ছে সবাই আপনি আমাকে অ্যান্সার দিবেন ওখানে। ওই ক্ষেত্রে সাইলেন্সটা কি ফ্রড নাকি ফ্রড না। বাট ফর টুডে এগেইনস্ট টিম ওয়াজ দ্য উইনার ফর মি। থ্যাংক ইউ। দুই টিমের প্রেজেন্টেশন অনেক ভালো হয়েছে। থ্যাংক ইউ ফর দ্য প্রেজেন্টেশন। নেক্সট ক্লাসে
ম্যাম জিতার কারণে কি পয়েন্টস পাবো নাকি গিফট
হ্যাঁ
পাবো?
হারার যে